And we are back with the third segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this third segment, we are going to be talking about who is going to replace Kawhi. What player has the best chance of replacing Kawhi? Because why would Kawhi be replaced? That is going to be everyone's question. Why would a two-time Finals MVP and Defensive Player of the Year decide to or not play for Team USA unless either A, he opts out, which why would he opt out, or B, he's hurt? And the answer is B. There's a possibility that he might not be 100% healthy coming this year's Olympics. Now, that is, for Team USA, that's nothing really to panic about, I guess you could say, because we have a lot of great players on the roster, and there are a lot of fantastic people, fantastic all-stars, fantastic role players. They're just all great. All of them, they do their job very well. Hall of Famers, elite talent. Makes total sense that it's not really something to worry about, if that makes sense, for who's going to be on the roster and things of that nature. And because usually Team USA, they usually have the best athletes because, that's just how the NBA has been. The NBA draws in a lot of, the best athletes from all over the world, especially now. And that was kind of embarrassing. But aside from that, the players that join Team USA are some of the best players that come from they don't even some of them they come from other parts of the world. Like for example, Kyrie, he was born in Australia. Joel Embiid, now he was born in France and he's not even playing for the French national team, which it's a benefit of being Team USA, because it's like you're always going to have the best basketball team. It's usually the sport that USA has to lose. It's like every team wants to beat USA in basketball. We just dominate it every single time. So, with all that in mind, the player that is most likely going to replace. Oh, I did that on accident. Whoops, that's my bad, guys. That was embarrassing. But aside from that, I wanted to click on this slide right here. Jeez, that was very embarrassing. But look at him, Derrick White. He is the next player that could possibly be replacing Kawhi, and I'm sitting here thinking, why and how? Like, I don't want to be no disrespect whatsoever, but seriously, why and how? Like, Team USA has been a I don't even know it's been a dream roster of some of best players from every single team that you could possibly think of. Every single team. Like, starting from 1992 all the way up to even all the way up to now, it's always had some of the best players. And putting in a role player on here we go with TJ in the chat. Here we go with TJ. Now, putting in a role player on Team USA, I am sorry, I do not agree with it. I don't agree with it whatsoever. There are so many better options than Derrick White, and there's so many better options to replace Kawhi Leonard than just Derrick White. Now, TJ, he's in the chat. He's saying, better not be disrespecting soon-to-be NBA champion Derrick White. He still thinks that the Celtics. He's still confident on the Celtics, and granted, it makes sense to be confident on the Celtics. They are up 3-1 in this series, but I wouldn't be that confident just based off of how they're talking towards the media. But that's aside from that. Now, I do not. I think there are better players than. Now, I'm not saying that Derrick White isn't a good player, but I do think that there are better players that could be considered for the spot on Team USA that like, that isn't Derrick White. Like, for example, Kyrie Irving. I don't know, maybe the guy that's in the NBA Finals too, that's going up against Derrick White. Now, I know he's not playing that well, but Kyrie, he used to play for Team USA, and he used to win. He used to win with Kevin Durant on the roster. So I don't understand why the Team USA has not even, like, taking considered taking Kyrie Irving on the squad, and would rather, take someone like Derrick White. Now, I don't want to say someone like Derrick White, but what I mean by that is a role player like Derrick White, I guess you could say, because, you know this Team USA, we're not really used to, or at least I'm not really used to seeing, role players on the squad. It's usually, the either a top one or a top two player on a team, depending on how good the team is, of course. And they're going to be, like, one of the top players in the NBA. Derrick White is not in the conversation for being one of the top players in the NBA. Like, we'll look at the hold on just one second. We'll look at the 92 Olympics roster. Now, we'll just for an example. Like, just for an example. Now, let me just there's someone else in the chat. Glowglum, my precious, says hello. Hello, my precious. Now, obviously, I'm pretty sure, that's a reference to Golem from what was it? The Hobbit, I believe it was. And I mean, there's also, like, The Hobbit, that's what it was. And yeah, I know that movie. I watched it before. But let's go ahead and look at the the roster on Team USA. So let me just go ahead. So we have, obviously, Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. They were both the top two players on one of the best teams in the NBA. Stockton and Karl Malone, they were also the top two best players on their team in the NBA. Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, again, the best players on two of the best teams in the league at the time. Now, granted, the Celtics, they weren't really the same juggernaut that they were in the 80s, but, it was still a very competent team, and with a very competent player, arguably the best player on that entire, Celtics team. Same with the Lakers, with Magic Johnson. Then there's Patrick Ewing coming from the Knicks, again, the best player on the team. Chris Mullin from Golden State, again, the best player on the team. Well, one of the best players on the team, because Chris Mullin was part of a big three. Chris Mullin, Tim Hardaway, and Mitch Richmond, I believe. Run TMC, that was what they were called? Again, it was way before my time, so it was, forgive me if I messed that up, way before I was even born. And let's see here. David Robinson for the San Antonio Spurs. Again, one of the better players, or the best player on the Spurs. Won MVP while he was on the Spurs. Didn't win it yet, but, was still one of the better players in the league and on his own team. And then is Charles Barkley, who, again, was also one of the better players on his, and the best player on his team at the time. Then Clyde Drexler as well, who was chosen over Isaiah Thomas. But again, those two players are the more important players on their team. Like, the main player on their team. Derrick White is not a main player on his team. Like, of all of the options that are on the team, I have him as, like, dead last. Of the entire starting five, he is the last option that I would have. That's just me, though. Like, I mean, granted, I don't think he's a third option. If you, like, at least especially as of right now, I don't think he's a third option for the team. So I'm very, very surprised that they would even consider putting Derrick White on the squad, despite the fact that he is, not even a second option on his team. And we'll go with the 2008 Olympic basketball team as well, just for even more reference. So Carmelo Anthony, again, best player on the this was in 2008, so it would be the Nuggets at the time. Regardless whether it was Nuggets or Knicks, still the best player. Then there was Chris Bosh. Now, at the time, he was on Toronto, so again, best player on Toronto. Then Kobe Bryant, arguably one of the best players in the league at the time. Dwight Howard, again, arguably one of the best players at his position at the time. And LeBron James, another player that was in the argument for the best player at his position at the time. Jason Kidd, best player on his team and one of the better players. And Chris Paul, again, best player on his team, one of the better point guards in the league. Tyshawn Prince, now, wasn't really... Like, he was very popular back then, I guess you could say. Like, towards the end of his career, like, he wasn't really, like, all that, I will say. But he is an NBA champion. So, take with that what you will. But, aside from that, other than that NBA championship, that was really, like, the big thing of his career. But aside from that, I guess you could call him a role player. I guess you could call him that. But then next on the list, let's see, Michael Redd. Now, at the time, he was a pretty good player and he was a phenomenal player, actually, like, for Team, not just for Team USA, but, like, in the league, and was one of the rising stars. Dwayne Wade as well, again, one of the better players. Same with Deron Williams. Now, these guys, they were all in arguments for being one of the top players either on their team or in the NBA. And Derrick White has never really been in any of those conversations. And I don't see that. Now, granted, you guys might be asking me, okay, well, who would replace him? Now, I mean, the obvious answer for me, it would be Kyrie Irving. I think Kyrie would be, definitely the best option to replace Derrick White. And I really don't think there's, like, any other player that you can really think of or that should deserve the spot over Kyrie. I can't really think of any player that deserves the spot other than Kyrie at the moment. But it definitely shouldn't be Derrick White. That's just me. And that's my opinion. But let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think Derrick White deserves this position? Do you think this isn't his place? Like, again, another player that should have been on Team USA over him, his own teammate, Jaylen Brown. He might be the damn Finals MVP coming up this after this game later tonight. And let's see. There's also Jalen Brunson, another guard that is just significantly better than Derrick White. Not on the defensive side of the ball, obviously, but, scoring the ball and how he was playing. Granted, he does have a broken hand, so maybe he won't be able to, wouldn't be able to play even if he, like, was selected. But the fact that he's not even in the running to be selected is crazy to me. But Kyrie or Jaylen Brown, I think they would be better options to replace Kawhi. Because now Jaylen Brown genuinely has an argument of being the Finals MVP. Like, there's really, you have to put a Finals MVP up on there. But that's all I have for this third segment. So now we will go ahead and go into the fourth segment where we talk a little bit about the Fever game and the Chicago Sky game. And we are going to, take a look at, Angel Reese's comments, just everything that happened throughout this game right after this short break. So be sure to stay tuned.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC. To access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.